In this video, we'll be taking a look at two NFL games happening on October 13th, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 4 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these two NFL games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Buffalo Bills versus Atlanta Falcons. It's an interconference matchup in Week 6 as the Buffalo Bills head south to Atlanta to face the Falcons on Monday night in Hotlanta, a spot that offers plenty of narrative and matchup intrigue heading into the second half of the early season. Buffalo arrives off a 23-20 home loss to New England last Sunday night, a defeat that came as a surprise given they were favored by 8 points. That loss punctured their momentum and leaves a clear chip on their shoulder heading into this game. Atlanta, by contrast, comes into this contest coming off a bye week, having last played September 28th when they beat Washington 34-27 at home and covered the number as a 2.5 favorite. Looking at the broader series history, the Falcons hold a slim all-time edge, 7-6 in regular season meetings, though Buffalo has won the last 2 matchups, including a 29-15 victory at home in the most recent meeting on January 2, 2022. The most recent meeting between the clubs was in 2022, a game Buffalo won by 14 points as heavy favorites. That recent history and last week's stumble against New England create motivation for Buffalo. They firmly believe they are the superior team and should not have dropped that game. Still, the result stands, and you can expect Buffalo to bring a heightened sense of purpose to this road tilt. Tight end Kincaid is listed as questionable, but even with that uncertainty, Josh Allen will have an abundance of receiving options, and his approach should not be materially hindered if his tight end's role is reduced. Allen's unique ability to extend plays with his legs and scramble will likely force the Falcons' secondary to defend more dynamic looks, which in turn should open lanes for Buffalo's ground game to operate more effectively. Atlanta's bye week likely interrupted the momentum they built from the Washington win, and that pause could produce a sluggish start coming out of the break. Meanwhile, Buffalo's defense, smarting from the close loss, should be motivated to regroup and reassert itself after a game they'd rather forget. Across the last 2 matchups between these teams, Buffalo has prevailed by an average margin of 10.5 points, a small sample that nonetheless supports the notion they match up well with Atlanta. Buffalo's performance against New England represented their poorest showing of the campaign to date, and even in that flat outing, it required a 52-yard field goal in the final seconds for the Patriots to secure the win. The Falcons will be fresher after the bye, but they still carry some injury concerns into this contest. Atlanta's pass defense has been stout in recent weeks, though the portfolio of quarterbacks they've faced, J.J. McCarthy, Bryce Young, and Marcus Mariota, does not perfectly mirror the challenges posed by Josh Allen. Allen presents a different and more complex threat, and his playmaking upside can expose even strong secondaries in ways those recent opponents did not. Buffalo head coach Sean McDermott noted that the offense tried getting a little too cute last week, a comment that suggests the team will emphasize cleaner execution and more straightforward, effective play calling in response. Even with last week's loss, Buffalo remains one of the NFL's better teams and has shown offensive potency, scoring 30 or more points in 4 of its first 5 games. Atlanta sits at 2-2 to start the year. While they did notch a win over Washington, they nearly surrendered a large lead to a backup quarterback in that contest. Calvin Ridley and Drake London aside, the Falcons possess playmakers, notably Bijan Robinson, who can change a game, but I remain skeptical about Atlanta's ability to slow down a red-hot Bills offense that has shown consistent scoring ability so far this season. I understand Atlanta's advantage of coming off a bye, yet this feels like a favorable bounce-back opportunity for Buffalo. The Bills have not routinely faced an elite passer since Week 1's matchup with Baker Mayfield, and they remain one of the league's top offensive units overall. Given my doubts about how well the Falcons' defense will handle sustained pressure from Buffalo's attack, I expect the Bills to resume a more dominant form here and control the flow of the game. As our first pick for this matchup, the Buffalo Bills to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Through 5 games this season, Buffalo's contests have trended slightly toward the over, sitting at 3-2 on the total. The Bills have only played a single road game so far, and that outing stayed under the number in a one-sided win over the Jets. Last week was the first time this season Buffalo failed to reach 30 points. Atlanta's games, meanwhile, have finished under the total in 3 of 4 instances. Their opener at home versus Tampa Bay finished under, while their most recent game versus Washington went over. Atlanta has demonstrated serious competence as a rushing team. After a slow beginning against Tampa, who has historically fielded an outstanding run defense, Atlanta produced 218 rushing yards against Minnesota and followed that with 131 rushing yards on Carolina and 128 against Washington. That level of ground production aligns with their top 6 usage of run plays and suggests they can consistently generate rushing yards, which is meaningful against a Buffalo defense that has struggled to stop the run this season, surrendering 146.6 rushing yards per game. The presence of a strong run game should help Michael Penix Jr., who can be inconsistent and who will only be making his 7th career NFL start. Effective play action fueled by a productive ground attack tends to assist any passer, and the Falcons have shown that in their recent games, where the run and pass have fed off each other, the Falcons should be viewed as a solid defensive unit in context, though part of that perception comes from the quality of quarterbacks they have recently faced. Atlanta's defense has improved this season and may well be legitimately competent, but even against comparatively weaker opponents, they have allowed 21.5 points per game. Their red zone defense remains a question mark, ranking poorly and allowing touchdowns on 66.67% of red zone possessions. Meanwhile, this matchup features Josh Allen coming off a loss. His passing line since Week 1, 148, 213, 209, and 253 yards over the past 4 games, represent serviceable output but not the explosive numbers fans associate with his MVP-caliber seasons. That statistical profile, combined with the venue, a dome, and the stakes of a must-respond matchup after Week 5's disappointment, sets up a prime scenario for positive regression from Buffalo's offense. Given Buffalo's consistent scoring and Atlanta's ability to move the ball enough to influence the total, this game has the ingredients to finish over the projected number. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Chicago Bears versus Washington Commanders. The Chicago Bears head east to Northwest Stadium in Prince George's County, Maryland, for their Week 6 showdown with the Washington Commanders. Chicago sits 4th in the National Football Conference North at 2-2, while Washington is 3-2 and 2nd in the National Football Conference East. In 2024, the Bears went 0-1 versus the Commanders. Last season's meeting ended in shocking fashion when Jaden Daniels connected with Noah Brown on a last-second Hail Mary. Tyreek Stevenson's taunt after the snap drew criticism and he was slow to react on the play. That loss helped snowball a collapse. The Bears went from a 3-game winning streak to a 10-game skid and ultimately overhauled their coaching staff. From our view, Washington's Week 5 win was the most impressive result around the league. The Chargers rarely dropped consecutive games last season, and after an early 10-0 deficit versus Washington, many expected the home team to hold serve. Instead, Jaden Daniels produced the plays that changed the outcome. In 2024, Daniels flipped the narrative in D.C., immediately elevating the franchise and guiding it to a National Football Conference championship appearance in his first year. Through the first 4 weeks this season, the Commanders have been less consistent, in part because Daniels missed 2 games with a knee sprain. His return to the West Coast, in his hometown no less, was a reminder of his special skill set. 270 total yards, a touchdown, and no turnovers while wearing a knee brace. The defense backed that performance, shutting out the Chargers over the final 3 quarters and producing the unit's poorest offensive output of the season with just 18 first downs and 5.2 yards per play. A win like that can re-energize Washington after a sluggish start through weeks 1 to 4. They will need that momentum against a Bears team that appears to be gradually coming together. Chicago is fresh off its bye. Before the break, the Bears impressed at times. Caleb Williams has protected the ball, throwing 8 touchdowns against 2 interceptions, and the offense is gradually finding a cadence even if a lot of its production stems from his mobility and knack for extending plays. The real concern is Chicago's defense. They surrender more explosive plays than any other team, yield 29.3 points per game, and rank in the bottom 5 by PFF metrics. Their pass rush has been inconsistent. They sit 27th in sack rate, which matters because Daniels excels when given time to work. When he has lanes to create, he becomes exceedingly difficult to contain. Chicago eked out a win over the Raiders last time out and will chase a third straight victory here. Their offense has shown punch over 4 games, but the unit's defensive shortcomings remain. Washington has alternated wins and losses through 5 games and is managing some injuries. The Commanders came out slow last week but dominated the second half with a strong running game. I believe the Bears can handle lesser opponents, yet they'll struggle to get consistent stops against this Washington offense. I'll give Chicago credit for competing so far, but that narrow win over a struggling Raiders club exposes some fragility. The bye likely helped the Bears reset, but after Washington's strong performance against Los Angeles, I expect the Commanders to be fired up and ready. Unless Chicago suddenly fixes its defensive problems, I favor Washington at home. Their form looks like too much for the visitors. As our first pick for this matchup, the Washington Commanders to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Through 5 games, Washington has scored 134 points, ranking 8th in the league, and they've produced that output against solid competition. The Giants, Packers, Chargers, and Falcons. The Raiders are the outlier, but the larger point stands. When Daniels is healthy, the Commanders boast one of the NFL's most efficient offenses. They may also have unearthed a breakout playmaker in rookie Jackery Krosky-Merritt, who rushed 14 times for 111 yards and 2 scores last week. Back home and with recovery time after a long trip, Daniels and this offense should be able to generate plenty on Monday night. Also, Terry McLaurin is trending toward playing. The bigger question is Chicago's offense and how the Commanders' defense will respond. Washington's defense looked strong last week and, overall, allows just 20.2 points per game, good for 9th in the league, but they give up a lot of yards, 352 per game, 24th. Ben Johnson is a bright offensive mind and has shown he can craft schemes that challenge opposing quarterbacks. Given 2 weeks to prepare, I expect him to put together a solid plan to attack on the road. The Commanders were 5-3 as home favorites on the totals in 2024. The Bears have gone 5-2 on overs in their last 7 meetings with Washington dating back to 2013. Although Washington's defense looks more dependable than Chicago's, I don't trust them to completely shut down the Bears' ability to produce enough points to push this game over. Washington's offense, especially the run game, should keep driving drives that end in scores. Light rain is possible and winds could gust around 17 miles per hour, but those conditions shouldn't be a major deterrent to scoring. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.